Thanks, Chrissy. I'll talk to you a little bit about silica sand as a product, and I'll talk about some of our projects, and I'll talk about our company and how we're going to develop these silica sand projects. But this is an interesting comment, and the main reason that sand is so critical to modern cities is concrete and glass. So both require significant amounts of silica sand. So it's a product that you're surrounded by and don't even consider it really. You know, in the house you've got the glass windows. You don't look out through the window and think, oh, that's 75% silica sand, but it is. Mirrors, tiles, insulation, many of the products that you use, your TV screens, LCDs, the thin film on the front, the backing plate, and then you got potentially solar panels on your on your roof, and they all require a significant amount of silica sand. But it's an incredibly diverse market, and incidentally, none of these products are made in Australia, which we're also trying to change that as well. But in your car, not just the glass that's in your car, and it doesn't matter whether it's an electric vehicle here, the same amount of glass, LCDs, LED lights, maybe you got a sunroof, the paint on your car. You notice the quality of the paint these days on Mazdas and also Teslas. They use the same type of paint now, and they're very high silica baked paint. It's a very durable product. Rubber tyres, silicon rubber. People forget that silicon rubber includes silica. So it's a product that is used by an incredible amount, 50 billion tonnes a year. 49.5 billion of that goes into concrete. And therein lies the problem, because all the other producers are trying to share on the other little bit of silica sand that they can get a hold of. So the glass manufacturers are actually missing out on some sand deposits that can be beneficiated to the quality they require, because the concrete guys are getting first dibs on it. Now, most of the stimulus spending going on in Asia at the moment is infrastructure. Infrastructure equals concrete. It's the main reason why the iron ore price is so high, because of rebar for concrete. So it's created this issue where there is a shortage, particularly in Asia, and most Asian countries have recognised that it's a shortage and in fact have banned exports of any silica sand. There's a bit of illegal mining goes on in Indonesia. Vietnam is probably the last country that's allowed any exports. Malaysia has a permit for about 1 million tonne a year. That's into a market that uses 140 million tonnes a year for flat glass and container glass. So it's become an issue in Asia. We've got lots of it here in Australia. We're really aiming, our market is the foundry industry and the glass industry. And the glass industry, particularly flat glass and container glass, as I said, it's about 130, 140 million tonnes a year. One of our projects, Muche, can produce a quality glass that can make ultra clear glass, which is a piece of glass that goes over solar panels, and you can imagine that's a market that's growing at 30% per year. In fact, the biggest bottleneck at the moment in producing solar panels is the piece of glass that goes over the top. It's actually very high tech. One, it's very clear because you don't want to diffract any of the sunlight, which equals power, but also got to withstand hail. So there's only a number of producers of that can produce that quality. The top 10 of them, all Chinese. So we've got a number of projects. We've got 5 projects here in Western Australia. We're based here in Western Australia. They're very high grade, they're very large. 3 of these projects are good for 100 years. So we don't need to go looking for a whole lot more sand. We've got about 1.4 billion tonnes. And a couple of our lead projects got 200 million tonnes, which is good for 100 years. So when we selected these sites, they were selected for particular reasons. Number one, they're granite-based sands. So mostly they're eroded from the Darling Scarp, which is granite, and they're wind-blown, leached and bleached. So they're good quality, but they're also on unallocated Crown land. So there's only two stakeholders, that's the state and native title holders. We've dealt with the native title holders, we've got agreements in place, but we haven't finished with the state yet. We're dealing with the EPA, and I'll get to that. But also, they're very close to infrastructure. So they're all close to Brand Highway. The one at Esperance, not so much. It's about 100 k's east of Esperance. But otherwise, they've got railway lines next door to them as well, which have got connections to the ports, because ultimately this is a bulk commodity that needs to be exported. They've also got gas pipelines in there. So the key here is these are very long life. And also the advantage of that is when we do talk to potential offtake partners, we can talk long-term contracts. So we have no problem committing to a 10-year contract. So we've got a number of mining leases, and we're working on the process for environmental approvals. Arrowsmith North, 200 odd million tonnes, 270 k's north of Perth. It's got a rail connection to Geraldton. We're looking to export out of Geraldton. Muche, also 200 odd million tonnes. It's just about 50 k's north of Perth, got a railway line next door to it, connects to Kwinana. So these are our lead projects at the moment. Arrowsmith North is leading the pack, and this is the one we're chasing environmental approval. So we've finished exploration, we've finished metallurgical test work, we've done process circuit design, we've done engineering, all the way to the point of detailed engineering ready to build a plant. So really we're poised at the moment. As soon as we get environmental approval, we're ready to go. Water is a critical component to sand processing, and we're accessing the Yarragadee. We can get about 90 litres per second out of that. We need about 50. So we've got plenty of water. We've already drilled the bore and tested it, and there's an application in there for extraction, for abstraction, and that'll be subject to EPA approval. Brand Highway's next door. We've got a hybrid gas solar power supply, probably less solar, maybe wind, but we're working on a solution here where we can access gas directly from a gas wellhead, so there's no transport cost for the gas, and then a 6 kilometre long power line down to the project. It's probably the cheapest power solution you could possibly get. Where we are, it's called Quongan Heath. It's about waist high. It's predominantly banksia and a few grasses and sedges there as well. And what we've done is develop this, what we call VDT, where we use a modified bucket on a front end loader where it takes up a sod of earth that is 3 metres by 3 metres by 400 deep. The root systems on all these trees only go 200-300 mil. So if we can take 400 mil out, we keep all the topsoil intact, all the critters that are in it, and the root systems for all these plants. So it is the best possible rehabilitation solution in this type of country. Environmental, we're a long way down the track, but we're currently at the point where we are compiling a response to submissions, and these are submissions that were submitted during the public environmental review period, which finished in July. We got comments back from the EPA last month. We're compiling the response to that. We'll get it lodged hopefully within about the next week. And that moves us on to the next stage where the EPA can then assess our responses. Unfortunately, a lot of it is out of our hands at that point, but at least it's moving forward. Muche it'll follow Arrowsmith North. It's a higher grade, but Arrowsmith North gives us the opportunity to set a number of precedents, one, the VDT for a start, but also the size of the project, which the EPA haven't been confronted with before. So it sets a number of precedents that we hope will make it faster for us to get approvals at Muche. All the environmental studies that we've done at Arrowsmith North, we've repeated at Muche, including a few extra ones. So that process is about to be started with a referral. We think we've got plenty of data for Muche as well. The mining lease has been granted, but this can produce very high quality sand, and it's worth probably 30-40% more than Arrowsmith North per tonne. It's, once again, the key to this is not so much the taller Banksia trees, which can be propagated. You've got to be able to deal with the grasses and sedges. They're the recalcitrant species here. They're the ones we want to deal with. So once again, that's suitable. It's a simple process. The key to this, strangely enough, is attritioning. Now, attritioning is where you've got an agitated slurry and the grains rub on each other and it polishes each of the grains. The cleaner you get each of these grains, the cleaner the final product. And in fact, what we're looking to get rid of here is clay. So the whole process is attritioning, then get rid of all the fines. So it's screening and we're going to use flotation there as well. But it's a simple process. There's no toxic chemicals involved. It uses a fair bit of power, but nothing that can't be managed. It's a 2 million tonne a year plant. Probably cost just north of 50 million. It's really 2 1 million tonne plants that run in parallel. We take our ESG responsibilities seriously, but we do think that the bulk of our contribution that we can make here to ESG is at the planning stage. So we've spent quite a bit of time at this point making sure that we've got good communications with the Indigenous groups. We're looking at trying to reduce our power footprint and really trying to use good sustainable mining methods as well. So we think it's the bulk of it will be at this point. Australia is the largest exporter of silica sand in the world. Now, the bulk of it comes from northern Queensland. Cape Flattery, it's owned by Mitsubishi, it's been running about 50 years, 2.5 to 3 million tonnes a year, depends on how many cyclones they get through there. Most of the cyclones that cross the coast in Queensland happen to cross right there. Here in Western Australia, Albany and Kemerton are both owned by Tochu, and they do, between them, about 400, 500,000 tonnes a year, and Hanson Industries exports some sand out of Kwinana as well. That makes us the biggest exporter. So it is, once again, it's a precedent. They are all very large corporations, and it's extremely difficult to find out how much production how much they actually produce, because even Cape Flattery barely cops a mention in the Mitsubishi annual report. We've got a few other initiatives. Last year, and it'll be the same this year, we were published in the Critical Minerals Prospectus, which is produced by Austrade. Every time there's an Australian trade delegation somewhere, they distribute this. We know where the trade delegations are got, because within a week or two, we get inquiries from that country. So, and we get inquiries almost weekly. We've got a grant from the state, the Innovation Attraction Fund, for $2 million to investigate the production of flour and a silica flour, which goes into the production of LCDs. We've also just been granted a geothermal energy permit at Dandaragan, and we're engaged with a group at the moment who could supply the technical know-how to get that up and running. We ultimately want the energy and or potentially hydrogen. VDT, we also want to trial it at Muir. The board, very experienced. We're covering sort of corporate affairs, production issues, exploration, commerce, and marketing. Our marketing manager is a Korean lad. He's based in KL. He's been involved in the buying and selling of silica sand for about 19 years. We've probably got the best market intelligence of anybody who's looking to get into this particular industry. We're currently market capped at about 56 million. We've got a bit of cash in the bank. We're not burning a lot at the moment while we're seeking environmental approval. So eventually, we'll get some of these into production. We've got a very large resource, going to be a long time there. We're in the Midwest, so we've got hydrogen projects that are surrounding us. With the very long-term raw materials, there's potential for glass making down the track. And we'd really like to be making solar panels. here in Western Australia. That's a long-term aim, but it's the right place to be doing it.